I didn't think I was going to be doing a video of this sort, but feels like it's time. And it helped me figure out with the phone that I have a 4K option, so it's like good video footage. I'm like, wish I would have known that when I was out in Bandon yesterday, trying to get images of the waves and everything. But I figure this is going to be perfect doing this, what I'm going to be talking about with the two paintings that are behind me here. Let's see if I can point. There we go. That one that my sister did on 11/11/2011, which she didn't even know what that was. She just felt inspired to paint it with the eyes of Horus. And that's what I saw in a meditation that night. So it was kind of serendipitous. This one there, where my finger up above, has the Eye of Ra. And that was done from a Burning Man friend. Long story from many, many moons ago. It feels like a completely different time in my life. But what I want to talk about is what I'm going to call the beautiful quarantine. Because for me, this has been a very different experience than what most have faced. And kind of putting the backdrop, it's like my empathic abilities had become so sensitive over time that being out in crowds has become extremely overwhelming, almost crippling. My immune system has actually been impacted by that over the past few years and didn't really understand why. And in this whole thing, it's like I got to work from home because there was a possible exposure to COVID-19. So I had there was 6 weeks I was here at home every single day, minus finding trails that didn't have very many people at them. And there's so many things that I've seen in myself and opportunities in this bizarre time we're in. It's like wearing face masks, and it's like social distancing, and almost like this conditioning to be afraid of others. And it's funny, not funny, but funny. It's like, this is what I've experienced in my life without the mask for 42 years, progressively getting worse. And it's just like, and I've experienced the isolation from 2016, and I'll do that in another video. But it's like pretty much got to the point, it's like all my friends were toxic and had to pretty much become a lone wolf. And then didn't think I was going to get a job and move out into the Pacific Northwest, and now out here. And it's like, it's been equally as isolating of a time. So a lot of the people I know at work are panicking because it's like they're much more social than I have been. And it's like, and really it's just like I already had laid down the foundation for this experience, which I did not know at the time that everything is happening now. But the beautiful quarantine, that is the message I have for today, is that it's giving us a pause to think about what's working, what's not working. What do you want to create? What do you want to experience? And I'm getting that experience now. And it's just like, and I've had to really reassess. And I'm going to focus on this one more because this one's really special for my sister. It's like, I like that picture behind me because it's really feeling like in the message of what's going on. But in this isolation and social distancing, it's like, I've been doing it for years. It's like more because it's like, outside of if I've gone to a pub and had a couple IPAs, I feel everything. I feel everyone else's stuff. I went to Burning Man events in 2014 sober until people started doing mushrooms and all that. And I was looking for whatever would cut down the intensity of feeling other people's highs. I didn't need to experience that. And it was literally taxing my nervous system to the point of cluster migraines. And it's like, and I really don't want to become dependent on absinthe. So it's like, I only went to 2. I'm like, okay, I'm good. And learned a lot about myself in those experiences, and learned how I am is what you are supposed to experience at Burning Man. except I want to bring it into the real world, not just have like these events a year. It's like to be away from everything, decompress when you enter the mundane world. I'm like, no, it's like really you need to bring that to this reality. This is what this reality needs. It needs the philosophy of Burning Man, not how it's been applied, but the philosophy of life is art in motion. And that's something, and even I've kind of shied away from that as I had to isolate myself and learn that my friends were toxic, and ended up in a relationship with an extreme introvert, which has been in a lot of ways a blessing in disguise. It's had its own challenges, but it was also a very beautiful thing. It's like, and it kind of put a fire under my behind too. It's like where I was living at before in Kansas City, absolutely unsustainable, in a job that was probably going to kill me because it's like I was around things I was allergic to, and I'm doing delivery. And then this little seed, because I wanted to move back to Portland, had applied for this job literally in 2014, renewed it in 2016, had interviews, kept getting second place. I put it on the back burner. It's never going to happen. Get this interview, got the job offer. I'm like, well, I got to do it. It's like all the crap that I went through in 2009 to 2011 for a degree I never got at Portland State. Got the certificate that was a scam. And so all this in the beautiful quarantine, it all ties in, as scattered as I'm sounding right now. The message that's coming through, evaluate what's working and what's not working. And for a lot of us, the systems are not working. Government's not working. Our economy's not working. Our healthcare system has nothing to do with health and all about profiting off of us not being well. And thinking about that, and it's like, and it's put me into many rabbit holes because I've had a compromised immune system for years, interesting autoimmune related stuff. And just now listening to someone, Dr. Shiva Ayudare, it's like there's pluses and minuses to every person you follow, but the systems biology of the immune system finally made sense of what's been going on in my whole life for the past 42 years. And arguably it started almost 43 years ago in the womb, with different stresses and going on. It's like, and being in where I've been in survival mode, fight or flight my whole life for one reason or another, because of external circumstances, which has impacted my internal processing to how I respond to the external world. And there was no medication in the world that would have fixed that. I've literally had to learn that, and then had a friend do Reiki on me a couple days ago that really put the final piece of that puzzle together. And it's like, I feel like for the first time in my life, I'm getting in charge of my health during this beautiful quarantine. So it's like I've gotten out and connected with nature more. I've really grown a respect for wild animals in a way I've never had before. I mean, I've had it. It's like I've been an animal whisperer, but never really to the level that it's gotten there. It's like I can go out meditating and have eagles swarming above me. And that just happened today on my patio. And it's like, kind of like, you think it's like the skeptic in me is like, it had nothing to do with my energy. But when I do those things, that's what happens. I've had deer, not recently, but back in the Midwest, deer come up on the trail, never really saw the beauty in it. And it's like, and using this quarantine time, I went hiking on a trail with no people and got recharged from feeling complete burnout, because it's like, I'm like, what's going on? Am I going to have a job? And, all the stresses that everyone's feeling, because if we were really all going to stay at home, they needed to pay us to stay at home. I'm lucky I didn't lose my job, but so many people did. And it's like, those are the things that we're having an opportunity to evaluate that's not working. And what are we going to do about it? And do we do direct combating versus, and say, we're not going to pay taxes, or, whatever you feel led to do, or what I feel led to do, what's the third way? And it's like, in 2016, I tried to create an intentional community with my best friend. came this close to creating that reality. He dies, I lose the investors, tried one more time. The election happened, and apparently Donald Trump getting elected is not good for international tourism from Europe. It's like, because my model at that point, I was looking in northern Arizona, and unless European tourism with the cycling around Grand Canyon was going to happen, I couldn't get that investor. And they looked at it and like, yeah, it's not going to happen. And turns out they were right. My partner is potentially Canadian. He was born to a Canadian parent in the States and want to move back. It's like, and literally it's taken me having autoimmune issues, and the two times he's been up there with me, and all of a sudden I'm able to eat things I can't eat in the States and feeling a lot better. And things don't impact me the same way. And I don't know if it's being surrounded by water, the salinity, the water, maybe all of that. And food quality, I argue, was not better from a grocery store perspective, but from a restaurant perspective, I think the food was cleaner. I was so much better. It's like, was hiking. It's like he couldn't keep up with me. So it's like, so it's putting a fire in his behind. I mean, hell, he reached out to his mother during this. And it's like, and he hasn't been talking to his mother for 16 years. Yeah, it's about 16 years. And so it's like, in seeing all this, it's like, it's put really into perspective, regardless of where you're at right now. Try to wrap this up. This is a time to reevaluate what's working for you, what's not working for you. What do you want to create? What do you not want in your life? And do those things. And then even like thinking about systems, it's like, do this, that we're told by media, government, whatnot. Is that really working for you? Is our way of healthcare working for you? And in a system where it's not working for you, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do to take ownership of and this has been the challenge for me, ownership of my own energy field, ownership of the not so great circumstances in my life. Even a lot of them were out of my control. I still have control of how I respond to them, what I'm going to do about it, and things like that. Because that's, in a quantum physics perspective, it's literally like what you resonate with tends to. I mean, it's the law of attraction, but not in the way that the woo-woo metaphysical people try to tell you, like the new age. It's like trying you to buy. It's like, if there's a block, it's like, it's obviously a problem with you. It's like, it's not quite that simple. But there is some truth to that. So that's why I say that with an asterisk, that something to think about. But this has been, like, for me, the only challenge I've really had in this time is dealing with the empath side of the stress. And when my friend did Reiki on me, it's like, and really showed me where my energy field was at, that was like, my energy field's that big. Because I had no idea. And it's like, he's like, I'm going to work on you, but I have to go into the other room, because it's like the part of the energy field that's the issue is 33 feet away from you. I'm like, really? And he did whatever he did. I did something with one of his crystals, and I've been able to at least manage all the inputs of people unconsciously dumping, because they're trying to escape from the suffering, because they want to connect with people. They want things to go back to the normal. For me, the normal never worked. And so it's like, I went on a trail that was, it was considered trespassing. I got a warning because of COVID-19. It's like, can't do that because you'll be spreading it. It's like, even though I'm wearing a mask and increasing my CO2 and increasing my anxiety, if you look up, it's like what CO2 does for fight or flight, you'll understand. It's like, traditional mask will make people more anxious, and probably why anxiety medications and depression medications are going up, because people don't know how to adapt to this quote unquote new normal. And I've had the groundwork to deal with all this over these years. And it's funny. It's like a horrible experience. It's like, I don't recommend it at all, but it's like, I made it through the other side, and it's like, I had to literally rely on myself. My partner tried, but has his own issues, and So it's like never, I mean, it was a little bit draining, but but the one thing is loyalty, which didn't happen in my life. It's like I had no one to rely on. I had like, this is my social network, my support network, me. And got to learn how to feel and like experience being more feral. And it allowed me to break the rules, but not in a destructive way. It's like I went to trails that were not allowed to go on because of COVID-19. I did all the things not to stay at home. It's like I went to where I could get sun for vitamin D. I went because I have like I said, my immune system's compromised, and I've been working my ass off. And a bike wreck last year kind of was like a nail in the coffin. I've been fighting what I didn't know till like 2 months ago, or less than a month ago actually, a cytokine storm. I was like right on the cusp of that, and then when that happens, it's like you're fucked. Pardon my French. You end up not being able to control your like immune system, and it's like you end up on a downward spiral health wise, and it's like it can kill you. And that's what I've been fighting against for the past year. It's like, and now I'm starting to build those things together health wise better. I'd like to play tennis again, neither here nor there. But I just want to give people out there who think that this is like a lost and hopeless time, look at the opportunity of you're in a moment. It's like you got this pause. What do you want to create? What do you want to experience? And what's not working, and what can you do now? And this is the opportunity that we've been given. And it's like, and a lot of people aren't seeing it. They're just like, I just want to go back to normal. Well, look at the air quality globally. Look at the water quality globally. And gas prices and everything else. All the destructive ways that are unsustainable industrial post-capitalistic way of life that we're living is a lot of ways in excesses that is not sustainable. And then go down another rabbit hole for another time. It's like what we call quote unquote sustainable. Is it really sustainable? And it's like, and start thinking about systems. It's like what systems makes us more in balance with nature and whatnot. In my off the grid intentional community bed, breakfast, and dinner dream was to show that way. It's like had that mapped out. And I haven't given up on the dream. It's there. It's just like now it's just like, well, we'll see if the resources happen or find some sort of nuanced way, because there's a part of me that feels really drawn to move to Vancouver Island. My partner's not so much a nature person. I am. So finding that balance and working with it, And so you just have to step back and identify what's working, what's not working, and sit with the inquiry, let things come up, let things go away. And it's like what works, what doesn't work, what resonates with you, what doesn't resonate with you, and just go with it. This quote unquote quarantine, not necessarily a bad thing. It was a pause, I think, macro that we really needed. Whether all of us have taken the opportunity to do that or not, it's a whole different story. I don't even think my partner did. It's like even seeing the blessing. He got laid off and was making more on unemployment till then. He finally got called back like about a week ago, working 4 nights a week, But even it's like there were things he needed to take care of that he hadn't for 10 years. Never did one of those things, and which was, significant dealing with his mother. But of the other stuff, it's like there were habit forms that could have been changed and whatnot, and it didn't. And that's neither here nor there, but that's just an example of that there's just like this golden opportunity. What are you going to do with it? And that's how I experienced this whole thing as we're starting to come out of it, and hope that we take some piece of that there. That being around a bunch of crowds is not for everyone. We need to each find what works for us, what doesn't work for us, be our own authentic selves, and not worry about what other people are doing unless it's directly harming us. And so that's kind of, I think that just, if I would have done a 10-second video, That would have been one sentence I would have said. But just kind of wanted to go more off the cuff, not planned anything. As I was sitting out on my patio, just listening to the tree frogs, I'm like, okay, let me do this because I've been wanting to do this for a while, for probably about 3 weeks now, and just never did. So I'm hoping this is of help to someone, that not all of us want to return back to the old normal, that there are benefits to the new normal. And if we're all going to have to wear a mask, get one that vents carbon dioxide out. It's like that will make the lives of empaths so much better. Just saying it from personal experience. And my mask will be there tomorrow. I had to wait 6 weeks for it because at work I'm required to wear a mask. So it's like I wanted to wear one that I'm not feeling like I'm on edge all the time, and just trying to do things the best I can, and enjoying restaurants when I do go out and away from Portland, which also violates social distancing and stay at home hoopla, which on a macro scale is okay. It's just like we need to also take in the personal responsibility of not all of us are willy-nilly going out there sick. If I'm not feeling well, I'm not going anywhere. But help the small business, because those are the ones that are going to be hurting. Big business is going to be fine. Corporate restaurants are going to be mostly fine, except for the ones that were not doing well before this. We may lose all of our small businesses. And that's the big tragedy of the whole thing. It's like, but then this type of capitalistic system we're in, it's like, that's by design. It's like create monopolies. And we have a government that works for monopolies. And we didn't do a proper temporary UBI or permanent UBI. And we don't have a healthcare system that's based on individual versus the one size fits all that we have now, that's all about pharmacare. And it's like, and not getting to the root of problems, but here, have this medication. It's like, and let our pharma partners make a bunch of money off of this medication that then creates more side effects. It's like, and that could be another time if people ever want me to talk about how I almost died following traditional, quote unquote, traditional medicine. And I don't anymore. And it's like, I have a strict no pharma rule because for me, it was necessary. For others, it may work. For others, one medication may be fine. And any naturopath that knows what they're doing will know the line of like, yeah, you're going to need a pharmaceutical to deal with whatever. And it's like, because it's not saying that you don't do that. And it's like, and even with vaccines, it's like, there are people that absolutely need them. There are some people that could die. I have allergies to some of the vaccines, and I'm scared that they're going to force vaccines on this. And if they're using egg white like they are, it will kill me. And it's like, so that, because depending on states, there's some states that are saying mandatory vaccines regardless of health. So, I mean, that's going to be another battle I'm going to have to probably take up at some point, because I'm in one of the states where there's a battle going on between forced vaccinations and anti-vaxxers, and I think the answer's somewhere in the middle. I think we need to get back to balancing immune systems and then let the rest play out, It's like sometimes being exposed to something's not a bad thing, because that builds it up depending on the type of virus or whatever. But vaccines also, with how they've been done, I can go into that. It's like, when I was a kid, 1 or 2 shots every 6 months to a year, and in some states the number is in the dozens. And the question of what does that do to your cortisol, adrenal response, nervous system response when exposed to however many minutes that trauma is going on. I mean, it can go even to like children being beaten. It's like, it's a very similar phenomenon. It's like when you're constantly it's like if it forces you into survival mode, your immune system takes a hit. And that's something to think about when we go into this. It's like, and we really need to go, I think, to a personalized healthcare system. Or it's like doctor, naturopath, whatever, based on your system, and do that. It's like, and when we get to that point, I think we'll all be healthier as a society. And it's like, it's hard to say because you have people that are in very strict ideologies, and I don't fit any of them. I'm just like, yeah, vaccines are necessary in many, many cases. In some cases, are not. That's not the ideal approach. If it's truly creating a herd mentality and 100%, and it has stuff that people aren't allergic to, great, let's do it. Let's do it in a way that doesn't traumatize the kids, like with some of the where I'm looking at different shots and like they're getting them all at once and then twice a year. It's just like, how about 1 or 2 shots and do it that way instead of all at once, because they're not thinking about what that does to one's nervous system, to the cortisol levels. Is it turning adrenaline into adrenochrome? Those are valid questions. And is that causing the inflammation that we know is autism? I want to see people actually do the inquiry into those questions, because I think it's important. And no one's there's at the mainstream level, they're not. And in closing, I'm just gonna say, it's like, we have more innate wisdom inside of us than we know. And we can't just say we have to rely on whatever news affiliate or government or whatever to tell us what's best for us. Sometimes if we quiet ourselves enough, we can hear what some of that is. And then let the rest fall into play. It's like, let it be advisement. And so that's the thing. It's like, we need to, in a more macro sense, it's like we need to honor free will, as long as we're not directly trying to harm each other or steal from each other and things like that. And this is coming from someone who's not a libertarian, but someone who really understands, it's like top-down, the limitations of top-down systems, and that we need to really find whatever balance is at. And so in this message, it's like, if you're one of those people that things have felt pretty good during this quote-unquote quarantine because you've had some semblance of isolation for whatever before this, and it's like, you're also not alone in this. And it's just like, man, I think we kind of need to give some sensitivity to those who are really struggling at this time of the quote-unquote new normal, and impart some of our wisdom of what we all have experienced over the years that made it where during this time we're actually doing better than ever in a lot of cases, and impart some of those things to people who are really struggling. And it's like, I'm knowing that at work, it's like people are like at their wits end, and I'm like, yeah, that's been my 2016 to just before this happened. And I've had to do it with no help. So it can be done, but I don't recommend it. All right, I'm going to leave that there because this is almost 30 minutes. I don't even know if I can download this to YouTube, and I might have to trim some of this off. But thank you for listening, for whoever who listened. And if you have anything you want me to cover future time, as time allows me to do, it's like, I am willing to entertain those conversations. Thank you.